Welcome to our Lively You Virtual Learning Academy program. This program is entitled Moving, Considering Moving, or Just Spring Cleaning. We welcome today Sam from Songbird Transitions. This is an Ohio-based company focused on senior downsizing, estate dispersal, and home sale preparation. Their mantra is, moving isn't just about the house, it's about relocating the home. This unique session will share tips on how to get started with the sorting of items, rooms, closets, ways to make meaningful donations, and how to identify items that are coined the term selective sentimental value. Please welcome Sam.
Thank you so much. I am delighted to be here with you. As you know, Danielle mentioned, we are an Ohio-based company, but I grew up in Wood County, and so it is near and dear to me. And I'm just so thankful for this chance to share a little bit about what we do, and then kind of talk about what we've learned over the last 125 senior downsizes that we've done. So again, I'm Sam Stearns. I own and operate Songbird Transitions with my husband, Lucas, and we are senior move managers or downsizers. I like to call myself an interior redesigner, not an interior designer. I like to use those existing furnishings that families hold on to, those things we keep and hold near and dear. And we are also home sale coordinators in a lot of ways for families because, as Carol mentioned, that she's lived in her home for 55 years. So we specialize in senior downsizing that for families that have lived in their homes up to 65 years. I truthfully rounded up because our client lived in a home for 63 years. That was our longest residence, for one of the families that we served. But people live in their homes from 2 years, a lot of times 20 plus years, and we get a few 30s, but 50 is a long time to live in a home. So our business model is we offer a la carte services to assist families with that space planning as they're looking at moving maybe to a condo or senior living communities, independent assisted and memory care facilities. We help with that design, the move management, and estate dispersal of a home. So once families have relocated to a new space, then we help clear out any size estate through donations, disposals, and those kinds of things, and then home sale preparation. So we offer a really, really wide range of services personally. And so I'm here not to pitch that to you, but to share with you what I've gleaned from all of those experiences so that families can take this information and apply it to their own homes, because we know that this process is more than just a move. And so we just like to share what we've learned because, again, so often families haven't moved very frequently. So this is my husband, Luke, and I. How to get started is the big question. That's our number one question we've received. How do I get through it all? Where do I begin? And when do I begin? And so if families are just working through that spring cleaning, I always recommend, in terms of ease of taking out the guesswork, as I like to say, start with places that have expiration dates. So your pantry and your fridge, that medicine cabinet, and somehow that bathroom vanity always has items that can expire. So it's up to you whether you want to follow those expirations. Especially I did this webinar where I cleaned out my pantry, which is behind me here in front of a webinar audience. And we had a contest about who could find the oldest item in their pantry, and had a good laugh about it. But you can decide if obviously you want to keep those things. But I think just by living normally, things get hidden away and put in nooks and crannies that maybe we don't visit that often. And so if you're starting with spring cleaning and you want to get started spring cleaning, you just don't know where, you look at the whole house and the process is overwhelming, I always say, peel one potato at a time, start with the pantry or the fridge, try not to tackle too much in one day, one thing at a time. And that will, all of a sudden, you'll start seeing progress. You'll start feeling good about, getting rid of things. I will say that in my experience, when you're working through your own food pantry or fridge. Obviously, the pantry is a little bit more suitable for this, but the food pantry that I work with, they do accept expired foods. So if you're on the fence about should I throw it away or should I keep it and try and donate it, even though I'm not going to use it, in my experience, the food pantries have been very acceptable. And I'll be honest, I have right here in a bin. I wasn't planning on sharing this, but I'm going to anyway. But I had gone through my pantry and I found like an insane excessive amount of tomato paste that I'm not using, my family doesn't use. So this is an item that I need to take to the food pantry, as well as riced cauliflower, because I totally tried to trick my toddlers into thinking this is normal rice, trying to sneak in those vegetables. And they did not buy it. So another food pantry item that I need to send along its way. But anyway, so if you just know you're not going to use it, I always say send those things on to somebody that can. So another place in terms of how do I get started if you're considering moving, I always recommend families start with spaces you rarely visit. And I say that because it's easiest to rip off that Band-Aid, in terms of what to get rid of if you're downsizing in particular, to start with spaces you're not really seeing that often. Because I think when we get into the spare bedroom or the basement, the attic, the garage, we have acquired things throughout our lives just by living, and we don't even know those items are even there. So when you see something, you're like, well, I didn't even know this was here for the last 10 years. At least that's been our experience with our clients. And we say, oh, well, cool. Should we pass it on to somebody? Should we move this thing along? One of the things that we do with Songbird Transitions is we try to give it a second life if it can live elsewhere, and a lot of times things end up collecting dust because people think, well, I'm going to use this. I know I'm going to use this, but maybe 5 or 10 years goes by and that use has not happened yet. And we always encourage families, because of our connections with some nonprofit organizations, that we know exactly where things can go. And I'll talk a little bit about that next on the next slide. And it makes moving things on a lot easier. So visiting the spaces you rarely visit or you rarely live in, make that process of getting through stuff and purging items and moving things maybe on a little bit easier. And maybe, okay, so you don't want to look at bite-sized pieces. Maybe you want to consider the whole picture with regard to if you're moving or maybe you're not moving and you're staying put, but you just want to live with less. You want to declutter. That's such a catchphrase or popular thing to say these days. And so I recommend using a Post-it note system. This is what we do when we're helping families manage a really large downsize, when they have family that wants to acquire items, or you want to move family pieces on to sons or daughters or nieces or nephews, any family members. We always use a Post-it note system. And so we give, if it's going to go to a certain family member, maybe they get a pink Post-it note. If it's going to a different family member, maybe it gets a yellow Post-it note. And you go through your whole house and you Post-it note basically the things that you're preparing to move along. And then you don't have to worry about it. So that's one of the things when in the process of moving, it gets really overwhelming. And you're like, well, wait, what am I doing with that? Or what is that bookcase doing? How about that end table or that antique chair or rocker? Once you see that Post-it note, you can clear that headspace and you don't have to worry about those pieces or items anymore. So that's kind of a how do I get started overview in terms of maybe where you're at in the process. And I want to share with you some closets. As you can see, the images of closets we've worked through in the past. And I wanted to share, we have a blog called Songbird Stories, and that is a free resource to give you tips or tricks on what to do with your own spaces. And so there are 3 in particular that I'm going to click on the links here. Hopefully bear with me as we go through this, but sometimes it's easiest, as I was saying earlier, to get through items if you know that it can have a second life elsewhere. And so, one of the things that we've done, a blog that we wrote called Making Space Meaningful Donations. I'm going to click on it because I want to just share it with you briefly. So, we record all of our blogs. So you could listen to it or you could read it, or you could listen and read along as you go. But the photos, the reason why I share this with you is because these are images of foster youth that have aged out of the foster care system. And
It looks like, I'm sorry, Sam, it looks like just the PowerPoint is up right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I have it on, should I do new share?
Maybe that might help. Yeah.
My IT man is coming around. My husband is, he always fixes my issues. Let's see. If I do new share, should I try that? 1 second. Let's see if it, so you see the PowerPoint on what page?
It's the main screen of the PowerPoint.
So it's not even the slide.
It's the main slideshow, but it has all of your slides off to the side.
Hold on, let me
pause there. Resume share.
Resume share. I'm sorry. Hold on. Stay with me, Danielle. Let me work through that. Say hi to Luke. Let's see. Well, and I'll just keep talking about it as he sort of works through this. So we have Making Space Meaningful Donations. So the thing that we have found is with our in our local community is that we, can you see that Songbird Stories page?
We see the Songbird Stories blogs to help. Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay, cool. All right. So on that first page, that Making Space Meaningful Donations. So I have links. I don't know if it's possible if we can email these to the attendees, the slideshow, then they can click on all of the links, or I can provide them to you. But we, on our website, songbirdtransitions.com, you can click on a tab called Songbird Stories. So we have Making Space Meaningful Donations, and that's where we utilize our partnerships with multiple nonprofit organizations that really make use of those secondhand goods. So we, yes, donate to Goodwill regularly and St. Vincent de Paul. It really just depends on our families and where you want to locate items. But I think that if you can locate someplace you really care about, for example, locally in Central Ohio, where I'm located, there's a new, the Humane Society is going to open up a 12,000 square foot thrift store. And so all of those proceeds benefit the Humane Society. And so some of our clients who love animals love that idea. And so we make sure we're moving those donated items onto that thrift store rather than Goodwill, for example. But we work with Joseph's Coat. There are a lot of places. My most beloved partnership is with an organization called Fostering Further. And Fostering Further is throughout the state of Ohio. And what we do is we furnish apartments for youth that have aged out of foster care. So on their 18th birthday, if they've been in the foster system their entire childhood, they are emancipated, for lack of a better word, and they are expected to live on their own. And a lot of times there are programs that can help them pay for rent if they're still going to school because they are so young. But we go ahead and we utilize some of our clients' furnishings, and we furnish an entire apartment: dishes, pots and pans, a toaster, a coffee maker, beds, dressers, all of those things. So they have usually fairly small apartments, and we partner up our clients with a youth, and we can make, basically we furnish an apartment. And a lot of times when we go to see those youth, they have an air mattress on the floor and maybe the clothes on their back. And it's been a very moving experience. Now, no pun intended. I mean that seriously, but it's really awesome to be able to give our clients home items a second home, you know, for dressers they don't need, or end tables and lamps and chairs, things that they're not using or utilizing. Those youth are elated. They are so full of joy. And so that blog is about our partnership with Fostering Further, but it also gives a list of 10 places locally that we typically donate to. Furniture banks. There's a furniture bank that we use that also helps furnish apartments for homeless families. And so there's just a really great way to, it'll help you process. It's so much easier. I make my sons do this with toys. Like, are you ready to move this on? You want a new toy? Let's move something on. And they even get into it. And it's just a really cool experience. The next blog that I have on Songbird Stories that can help is a term I've coined, selective sentimental value. So that blog is about how many families use sentimental value kind of as that catch-all. Well, I can't get rid of my mom's blank or my dad's this, or that we just saw a client who basically acquired her parents' house because she just couldn't find a way to part with anything because it meant something to her parents. And so in our 5 years of business, we like to work through selective sentimental value with families. And that's an exercise that we've created to help bring you joy and help you really choose exactly what is most important to keep versus using it as a catch-all for everything. And so these blogs, I wear my heart on my sleeve. They're deeply personal to me. They're not just about our clients. I share my own experiences with my family. My husband and I first downsized my parents about 15, how long ago? 15 years ago, due to my mom having a really severe motorcycle accident in Wood County. And we had no idea at the time that was our first senior downsize. But it was wild, and it was, we had to practice what are we going to keep really at a young age before moving forward. And so we know acutely what this feels like to you when people have to decide, what exactly should I keep in all of this stuff that reminds me of fill in the blank so and so. So that blog has an exercise in it, and it tells you about how to sit and practice and be reflective of the people we love that maybe we've lost and really decide what's best to keep. I know we've worked with a handful of families that have lost their significant other, for example, and they've held on to everything. But if we have a youth, for example, that could really use a winter coat or some of those clothes that are just collecting dust, honestly, we move those things on, and then that carries on those memories of that person too. And so we know that this is a deeply personal experience of going through your things. And so we share our own experience with selective sentimental value with you in that blog. Then finally, we have that final helpful step-by-step guide is that peel one potato at a time. And that goes back to the Post-it note system. So we give a really detailed example of one of our clients that was relocating to Chicago. She had a daughter in Denver, another daughter in Boston, and finally a cottage in Michigan. And we had to go through her entire house and Post-it note everything for these 4 different locations, plus some donations, and plus some junk to be picked up or trashed out, for lack of a better word. And so we did this whole system with her house, and we discussed like how that made everything fall into place and move forward for her. So, and it was way less stressful that way, once you have those things kind of out of your headspace, for lack of a better word, and on paper, then it takes the worry away from it. Did you see I switched slides? Did that work, Danielle? Yes. Okay. Thanks,
Yes.
Meg. I love head nods. I'm a teacher in trade, and so head nods are so helpful to me. Anyway, so another thing that we have completely for free is our mini series. And we created a mini series where we videoed myself and one of our clients downsizing her closet in her master bedroom, her basement. We went item by item through her basement, identifying the must-haves, the keeps, the no pile, and the maybes, and we'll talk about that process. And then we went to her storage unit. And so these are videos that you watch, and we work through, and you can kind of see that it's fun to laugh as you work through and you find 6 crock pots or 4 coffee makers or all of those items you may have acquired over the years. And we can give, again, our step-by-step, we give our supply list. We say, these are the things you need to kind of get you started. And here's how to make it work. The biggest thing I think is that you can get stuck reading letters or going through books and things. So you have to identify for yourself what your massive stopper is. And if that is books for Amy in these videos, it's books and literature for her, because she is just, it's what her mother, who had passed away from cancer, was always giving to her. So she knew as soon as she'd hit a book, she would stop and everything would stop, progress would stop, and she would just want to sit and read. So we set all of the books aside and we said, we're not even going to touch these, not yet. We're going to get through everything else. So as you identify what your major screeching halt, as I like to call it, is, then you can set that aside in its own pile and give it its own time and work through everything else. And so you see exactly that and that's a video series. So if I'll send that to Danielle too, since I'm worried my screen share is not going to go with me if I click here, unfortunately. I could try it, but I don't know if I should, Danielle.
No worries if you want to try.
Okay, let me see. Are you there? Do you see the website?
No, it ends up taking us right back to the beginning of the PowerPoint.
I don't know why that's happening. Okay, so let me drop down. Click back. Are you now seeing sign up for our free mini series?
Yes.
Okay. So this is just an old project. I'll give you just an anecdote here. We worked with a family that transitioned out of a condo into a senior living community prior to selling the house, and then the house sold really quickly, and then they had like a rapid, what are we going to do with everything? And so this family, we worked through and helped them decide what family members were going to keep, what the siblings and sons and daughters were keeping from this gentleman, and we relocated all of those items for that family member. And then we went through everything else and determined what we could give to Habitat for Humanity, and what we could donate to, or Habitat Restore. That was another big thing. And then we ended up clearing it out completely so that they could close on the house within a matter of days. So we are very familiar with stuff and the things that fill our home. And I just wanted to share my email for questions, or even my phone number if people wanted to work for, reach out via a phone call, because I know it, and we can talk here. Obviously, this is the time for questions. If there are specific questions you have, or you want to talk personally about your story, I'd be happy to do those things and do that with you. But I do hope, if I do stop share, I might try and share my screen another way. If I escape my PowerPoint and close out, can you see screen sharing is stopped? Okay, so not a problem there. I'm going to try and screen share one more time and go straight to the website. Can you see that now?
Yes.
Is that the 3-part mini series?
Yes.
Cool. We got somewhere. So I'll navigate from here and then I will answer questions. So this is, it's in your name and email, and it's our preview, just to kind of give you a sense. Hi, I'm Sam with Songbird Transitions. Today we are in a storage unit, my friend Amy's storage unit, and we're going to go through this space, one bin, one box at a time, and we're going to show you how we downsize a storage unit. Could be your garage, could be your attic. I hope you'll join us. Sign up today. So that's just an email that you will get. And we instead of getting all of them all at once, we send you an email with the closet and then give you a couple days to process, And what we do in our process is we talk about, okay, you identify your must-haves, your keeps, and you know what those are right away. And then you know your nose right away. Maybe it doesn't fit. Maybe you thought you would like it, but we find things with tags on it all the time, and you just never wear it, kind of thing. And I always say, pass that on to a friend, someone that has a similar size to you, because you definitely wanted it. And if your friend can wear it, I mean, that's got to be something, and you'll surprise them and make them feel good. But then you go to the maybe pile. So if you have your definite yes, definite no's, that process goes really quickly. You just worry about the maybes. Maybe I'll keep it. Maybe I'll keep it. I don't do the Marie Kondo method. I don't ask myself if it brings me joy. I'm all about function and whether or not you're actually using an item. And so I then process my maybes. I try things on, when it comes to the closet. I ask myself, when am I going to use this? Where am I going to wear it? Do I have something similar that I already, would wear instead of this? And so it's just a matter of really thinking logically about those items in our closets. And my favorite tip, if there's anything you get from today, my favorite tip is seasonally, if you change your closet and you turn the hangers. So the hangers normally, go onto the rack like this. Okay. This is enjoy my hook hand, right? So your hangers go like this onto your closet. I challenge you to get into your closet and turn all of your hangers the awkward way, the wrong way. Okay. You're like, why would I do that? Well, then go through an entire season. And if you still have hangers pointing towards you, that means you never wore the item. So if once you wear it, you hook it back the normal way. Does that make sense? So all of them that start by facing you. And then once you wear it, you shift the hanger and you immediately know what you've worn and what you haven't worn just by, again, looking at the hangers. And this goes back to my very beginning tips about expiration dates and things in the pantry. You take the guesswork out of it so that it's not all emotional, right? And so if you see those hangers and they're pointing towards you, I didn't wear this all winter, or I didn't wear this all summer, and that is, again, guesswork. The guesswork is gone. You're not using it. I always say use it or lose it. But since I have this on we're screen sharing. So this is our homepage, songbirdtransitions.com. This, again, just shows our services, but I wanted to show you the Songbird Stories. So up here in Songbird Stories, that's where our blog is located. And you just can scroll down. Unfortunately, since I wasn't able to link them, I'm sorry. So here's that first, making space, meaningful donations. Can you see that? Yes. Okay. Thanks, Meg. So these are two foster youth and their social workers that we assisted. And you'll see Tanya here is wearing a Bridges program t-shirt. That is a Ohio-based program. So I work obviously with Licking County and Knox counties when I'm helping foster youth, but there's one in every county. And I actually I've tried to help locate a bed for a youth in Lucas County previously, when I had donors and dear friends that I still talk to, up in Wood County, Lucas County area. And we got a foster youth taken care of up there as well. So they are located everywhere in Ohio. But again, you can listen to the blog or read along. The selective sentimental value, this is, again, a deeply personal journey for me, but that's my grandpa and my brother and I as kids. And we talk about what it means to kind of practice being selective in terms of what is sentimental value, and I had a deeply close relationship with my grandfather. And so I talk a lot about that. And I had an opportunity to care for both my grandparents leading to their passing. And so I've had to practice sentimental value with them. They worked in Maumee, Ohio if I don't know if anybody's in Maumee, Ohio today, from Maumee today, but those are my grandparents. And then the other one, Peel One Potato. Well, I have a downsizing shoes is good for the soul. So that's a really brief 1-minute video that kind of talks about how to get through shoes. And we actually downsized ourselves. So there's just a variety here, but this goes back to that peel one potato at a time idea, the Post-it note system, when we helped Laura move from a 4,300 square foot house and disperse everything into different areas around the country. So that is a resource for you, whenever you want it or need it, or you just need moral support in your journey of spring cleaning or downsizing. And then I think that the biggest thing is that you want to be able to access our mini series. And so that's songbirdtransitions.com/mini series. And that's where you can get real help in the process of working through your own stuff. So that, again, that's songbirdtransitions.com/mini series. So questions, I know everybody has a different story and different roadblocks along the way, and I would be happy to answer those questions if I can offer any help.
Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and unmute everyone here, and allow people to ask any questions.
I had a question about books.
Yeah.
Books. I have a library.
Yeah. Yes. I'm familiar. Don't worry. I promise.
I have some important books. I have some like McGuffey first edition readers. I mean, I'm a book collector, and I know some family members like it, but how do you downsize some of your, where can you take books? I guess that's what I was asking.
That's a great question. So pre-COVID, unfortunately, a lot of times pre-COVID, I had worked with a local library, and they did accept book donations. And so if you wanted to contact the Wood County, libraries, or your most local, I would just call them and ask. So sometimes they will take on books and they will put them into their collection. Other times they will take on books, and the libraries locally here, they do a sale once a year, and the proceeds benefit the library. So they may not take them for collection, for dispersal, or, rental, for lack of a better word, but they would then, sell to the community. The other thing we do, we have a little bookstore called the Reader's Garden, and they're a bookseller. They sell new and used books. And so I've worked with them to kind of come, sometimes a lot of buyers will come directly to my clients' homes and then kind of go through the collection because it is vast. I totally understand it. I'm in Granville, Ohio, which is where Denison University is located. And so we have downsized lots of professors. And so history professors, sociology professors, to name a few. And so you can imagine the book collections that we have seen, and they're beautiful and vast, and I'm way out of my league, So I think too, sometimes it helps to have family come and say, it sounds harsh, but you say, I have someone coming from a bookstore on this date. And so if you have the date really truly set, then you tell your family, you need to come and pick out what you want prior to that date. It lights a little fire, if you know what I'm saying, and they're like, okay, I'll come. All right, okay, I'll come, I swear, and because a lot of times what happens with our clients is that their kids say they want something, they don't come and get it. They say they want it, they don't come in, they say they want it. And then the client says, well, Sam's coming on May 2nd. So you need to come and get it or it's going away. And then they come. Imagine that,
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I will say we had a client who adored everything Abraham Lincoln. He started collecting. And when we walked into his condo and did a consultation, he had a whole room dedicated to Lincoln, all the books, all the artwork, busts, everything. It was amazing. It was such a cool collection. If you are on social media, scroll through our Facebook, there's photos of his Lincoln collection, but we did sell some of those really rare books online. And so if for the really rare items, you may want to look online to eBay or something like that and just see what something's worth. If you feel like this could be worth something, obviously you would pull those out of your collection and kind of handle those things separately.
Okay.
I was wondering if you have any tips for sorting through like paperwork. Like,
Oh,
Yes. I had another client, my husband's got a smirk on his face. We had a client that owned a very large business in Columbus. And he had his tax records from 1984. And we scolded him heavily, for maintaining that in his basement, but he's like, I never go down to the basement, so I don't. And so anything older than 10 years, there are local shred it days. And so you could go with the philosophy, Annette, of if you have no idea what it is, do you dare open the box? I don't know if you want to be that extreme. My husband is that extreme and he's like, we don't know what it is. Let's get rid of it, but I totally appreciate that if you need to work through it. My experience was that when my parents downsized, we acquired about 10 or so boxes of items that I had kept, every note that had ever been written to me in junior high, from my girlfriends or whatever, which was totally ridiculous, but I couldn't just throw the box away. So I got a glass of wine and I went one box a night. I think that when we get consumed by paper, we look at the whole pile. It's so easy to just get sucked into the vastness of it all. And you just can't do that because that's not good for your mind. It's not good for your emotional well-being. So my recommendation is to just handle a stack, at a time and make it quick. I like I'm trained in dance and we always said first thought, best thought. And if you give something the moment to go with that gut instinct, I'm never going to use this. Or if it has personal information, you have a shred pile, you have a recycle or pitch pile, and you just and you have a keep pile. So same thing, you just kind of move through it quickly. And then when you're getting rid of those items, you get rid of it immediately. Don't let that pile sit. Don't let that pile go away. That's one of the things we do when we help clients with purging prior to moving. We take donations the same exact day, because I don't want my families to be going back to the donate pile and going, maybe I'll use.
Yeah, I could see that happening. Maybe we better not. Better keep that.
Yes. We see that a lot.
oh, Sam,
And that also we found that the UPS local store does shred it as well. They do it in a secured bin. You pay per pound. So if you didn't want to, I know there's local shred it days and they come and they're free and you just kind of drop it off. But if you need to, again, get rid of stuff right away, you can take it to your UPS store and they do secure shredding.
when you mention about the local shred days, where are those and when? Do you know?
So that's a good question, and maybe Danielle can help regarding Wood County, because our local grocery store, our IGA in our town, they host a shred it day, and so they put it on social media that that they're going to have shred it there. You can come, and usually there is a lineup of cars doing that. We've also worked when we had another gentleman who was a real estate agent, and he kept a whole room full of files, for lack of a better word. I won't give you the size of the room, but it was ample. We called a local organization. Hold on, I'm blanking. I'm going to look at my husband. Do you remember who drove to Milner?
Oh, there's that mobile shredding.
Mobile shredding. Thank you. So, and that's a national organization, and they can come and they take it by the bin and they instantly shred in their truck. So you can witness the shredding of those documents.
Yes. So the
Thank
Wood
you.
County Solid Waste Management District also does a annual shredding. They've done it for the last 3 years.
Awesome.
So typically it's in November.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great.
I was gonna say, just as a comment, I live in Woodville and I deal with the Fremont Federal Credit Union. And they've got offices throughout the county. They've expanded into Ottawa County. But at their different locations, they have free shred days. You know, if you get on their website, you can find it. I think they've got some kind of a limit, 5 bags or something like that. But if you drive up there, I've never heard them ask if, you know, prove that you're a member of the credit union.
Mhm.
And in regard to the business about the books, because I'm in the same situation. There's a Abe's Books, ABE, which is out of New York City, deals in rare
Ooh, I'm taking notes.
stuff. But what's happened, they've got local booksellers that have become affiliated with them. And there's a guy in Oak Harbor, Ohio. I think it's Pen and Quill. He's a retired Marine, and he developed this into a full-time thing. He's got a bookstore there. And I talked to him. And if you've got something like that, you could possibly take it to one of these affiliated dealers. And he pointed out to me, he said there's something like 100,000 book titles that are published each year. So the idea of I may have really rare, valuable books that are really worth something is probably next to nil. If you've got a specialized collection, I've got a lot of railroad books, maritime books. There's different museums. The Great Lakes Museum in downtown, well, on the opposite side of the Maumee River there in Toledo. You got the Sandusky Maritime Museum in Sandusky, Ohio. I know the Sandusky Museum does, they'll have maritime books that people donate that they sell. The local library, yeah. One of the things, I'm a member of the Railroad Museum, Mad River and NKP Railroad Museum in Bellevue, Ohio. And one of the things that the president of the museum has told me, we constantly have these people that have accumulated magazine collections, Model Railroader, Trains Magazine, some of this other stuff. And he said, they're useless to us. He said, there was so much of this information on the internet. He said, we won't even consider taking donations like that because he said, I got some of that stuff sitting around here. He says, all it does is take up room for us.
Don, you bring up a great point. When I first downsized my parents out of our childhood home, my dad had collected motorcycle magazines. And he was adamant, like, when I retire, this is how I'm going to spend my time. And my husband looked at me like, say something to your dad. So we talked about the internet, like, Dad, you can find all of this information on the internet. You love sitting and looking at motorcycles on the internet. You know, it's kind of your thing. That's where you're going to probably go for all of your information. And he said, oh, you're right. So he had this twine, wrapped around these massive stacks of magazines, and we got him to part with them. And he took them down to the driveway, said farewell, and then came back up, and we kept working. And at the end of the evening, I wish trash collection came earlier. He tiptoed down the driveway and he grabbed those little magazines. I was like, Dad, you're driving me crazy. So if you want to read about that, which I totally make fun of my dad, the very first blog I wrote is called Downsizing My Dad. And he wrote a response. My dad, I asked, because he's a poet and a writer. And I was like, I'm going to write this for my sanity. I need you to write a response, for your sanity. And he did, but he has this really great, it's amazing to come from his perspective and talk about downsizing and how it feels like a part of you is being let go because you accumulate. And I think generationally what's happened, especially growing up with Depression era parents, being a baby boomer, the value of a dollar, working really, really hard for everything that's in your home versus my generation where things are just so, Amazon has made things so quick. We can get whatever we need, whenever we need it. And it shows up on our doorstep and it's amazing and all this stuff. But I also think that we value experience in ways that versus stuff as in terms of association with our identity, and so I think that's just a different generational perspective on who we are and how we live. And it's not to say that one is better than the other. It's just so hard when families want to pass things on to their daughters or son and they're like, but I don't want that stuff. And you're like, but it's a part of me. Don't you want a part of me? And you kind of go through this whole emotional kind of back and forth about what to keep and what to let go of. And that's an important thing to remember, and we see it all the time. And that's one of the psychological things we work through with our families all the time. And it's just a major blessing in disguise that we had to do it at such a young age for my own parents. So I can relate to the magazine collection or the books that people think are worth. We can't even sell crystal. I'm sorry, I hate to say this, but we can't even sell crystal for $1 in some of our tag sales. People just don't want it. They come back. I'm like, what about the half off day, 50 cents? And people are like, no.
Well, part of this thing, our daughter-in-law made the comment to me. She says, I don't even know what you guys have that would be considered family heirlooms.
Right.
And I'm thinking, yeah, if something would happen to us like tomorrow, I could see where a lot of stuff might just be pitched because nobody realizes that. And the other thing I thought I had this business about this Abe's books. They've got a deal where you can sell your books online. You become affiliated with them and they list your books on their websites and all this other stuff. However, there's a monthly fee. And I don't remember, it was $25 or $35. And you're the one that has to make arrangements as far as paying the shipping. And it's like, yeah, this sounds like a real good idea to sell this stuff online until you start finding out, well, it's going to cost me some money. I got to make so much money just to break even. And do I want the hassle of dealing with the shipping and all this other stuff? And I quickly discarded that idea. Let's put it that way.
And I think that goes back to the idea about meaningful donate. Like some people are, but I can't purge with it. I don't just want to give it away. But once some families find a place that makes it really meaningful, like a library or, someone that is going to share your passion for some of the things that you have, it becomes a much more acceptable practice. And I think that it's hard. It's definitely a tough pill to swallow, but you're right. What you're saying is we see it all the time in regard to, passing things on.
As you mentioned, St. Vincent de Paul, myself and my wife happen to be Catholic, so we're familiar with St. Vincent de Paul, but a lot of Catholic parishes in the Catholic, if you're not familiar with the Catholic Church, you have deacons who are part of the ordained clergy. If you got a big enough parish, you may have a deacon that deals with St. Vincent de Paul. And, if you're thinking about getting rid of, like furniture or clothing, that kind of stuff, maybe you might want to contact one of these parishes, find out who that person is, and, go donate it. If you want to donate it to St. Vincent de Paul, work through them.
We work with St. Vincent de Paul much in our area because of the community that they serve, the employees that they're helping are underserved populations, and also their prices are highly, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Acquirable for so many families. I had a woman run up to me while I was doing a St. Vincent de Paul donation that was a homeless woman and just asked for one of the bags. And I'm like, absolutely, take this. You need this, you know. But I think that they do such a beautiful job of making prices affordable for families that really need some of the items that are for sale.
Well, in some cases, I mean, somebody that's maybe been involved in there was a fire, they lost stuff, all like that. In some cases, they just outright donate it to these people.
Yes, exactly. With regard to the things in your home that could be family heirlooms, I had a client once who I was helping her space plan for a move. And she was telling me, well, my daughters have checked things out, but I don't know, if they've told me what's what. So I think I'd like to keep that. I don't know. And I said, oh, look, under here, this one has Christy's name on it. And she was like, what? And her daughter had gone through her entire house and put Post-it notes underneath things that she wanted. She was trying to beat her two other sisters, okay, in terms of first dibs. So even as I'm saying, like, look at the whole picture. If you do the Post-it note system, you can put something behind a piece of artwork. And we have lots of clients do it. They write where an art piece came from, if it belonged to their mother or father, and they just tape it to the back. And so if something happened, to you, that, unforeseen circumstance, then you had those things already taken care of. And if a family had to go through the home, Don, as you mentioned, all of a sudden they would find these notes and treasures, and that would make it really meaningful too. So it's worth doing, in some ways, if you have family heirloom pieces.
I guess one of the things I'm kind of confused about, take the book collection, for example. Is it a good idea to sit down, go through the books, decide, yes, I want to keep these. No, I want to get rid of these. And then actually do that.
Mm-hmm.
Or what? Oh, okay. Let me back up a little bit. We're considering selling the house and moving into some sort of, assisted living, community living type thing. Or is it better to try to, after you sort this stuff, keep on going and sell everything all at once, like an estate sale or something?
I think that you would want to contact a seller if they do estate sales and have them come assess. So a lot of times, like our consultations are complimentary, because it's basically an interview for both people. We want to see if it's a good fit, that we're going to be able to help a family. And so if they come in and when I look at the amount of stuff too, because for example, we charge hourly. And so because everybody has a different idea of how much stuff they have. And they're like, oh, it'll only take a day. It's fine. And I'm like, this is going to take about a week and a half, that kind of thing. So if you have someone come in and just do that assessment, they will tell you their preferred timeline. If you want to kind of go through things slowly on your own and sell things off individually. I mean, I think it depends on how soon you're planning on moving. I mean, everything is so case specific to exactly your process, exactly how much stuff you have, and exactly how soon you're moving. And so that's why we do a la carte services and why we're hourly, because every single person, we've never had a bill. We've never once had a bill that's been the same exact as another person, And so it's really important. I think you just bring someone in, have the assessment done, and then you can go from there and go, all right, I know how much you're going to cost to do all of this. Maybe I'll plug away at some of these things on my own to get started, and it'll give you that sense of where to begin, and I think if books are your number one and most important and one of your favorite prized possessions, don't start there. I always say, start again with those places you're least sentimental about initially, because you got to be in the practice of processing, I think, to then really think logically about those favorite items. That's my personal experience.
I never thought of it that way. I know there's some books I have here that I've already made up my mind that, I'm not interested, but that's a very, very small minority.
But it's a step in the right direction, right?
Yeah, I guess
you take those wins.
That way.
You got to take the wins as you
get
them.
In the coins, so that's how
Right. Jed, did you have a question?
No.
Okay.
So book collections like, well, they're not collections, but old National Geographic magazines, they're not very much wanted anywhere or anything. So those go to the burn pile, if you want to call it that.
You certainly could call the library and see if they wanted that. 'Cause sometimes like our local library does have archives of old magazines. They absolutely do, like the Harper, Harper magazine and things like that. If they can acquire a good quality magazine, they may take you up on it. So I always kind of divert to those experts before telling you to pitch them. My mom had a National Geographic magazine collection, and I still to this day think they had the best photos. It was if I could do one job for a day, that was my dream job. National Geographic photographer, 100%. I think I wrote a paper about it in school.
What did you guys do with hers? Or does she still have them?
No, she purged. She purged it. She did.
The library didn't take it.
No, but we were with the Rossford Public Library, and they already had a collection. And so it was, that at that point in time, that was where we were.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the advice.
Yeah. Always make a call. I feel like taking the guesswork out of things. It takes you maybe 3 minutes to make the call and just ask. Then you don't wonder about it anymore. And then there's that overwhelm that sets in. There's so much psychology that comes with, downsizing and purging.
Right. I have a busy household and I'm cleaning out my attic to make a 5th bedroom for more people.
Yeah. So you need the mini series, because I go through the storage unit. That's the one you need. You need the storage unit mini series, and you will enjoy. I know I'm personally promoting a product I put together, but my friend Amy she agreed to be filmed is a stinking hoot, and she's very fun to joke around with. So if anything, you'll be entertained for 15 minutes they range from 8 to 16 minutes, the videos. So it's not a lot of time.
I'm retired.
Okay.
That'll work.
I do have to go see a client.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you so much for sharing all of your great information with us
It
today.
was a delight. I thoroughly enjoy this.
I think we need a series number 2 with her.
We can do that. That's no problem.
Perfect.
We can make you guys. I'll go through my own closet, and you can see my hanger trick. And you can see me get rid of my own clothes.
I love that. I mean,
perfect.
55 years in the same home.
Yes. So we had a client he lived in his home 63 years. He acquired his home on his 18th birthday, and we relocated him to a senior community. And I was so thankful that he was giving his house to his grandson. I was like, I don't think so. I don't think we can do this.
Right.
No, I'm teasing. We would have done it gladly. They were delightful people.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Sam. Thank you everyone for joining us today. And we look forward to
have a wonderful
This was
weekend.
great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.